Click on the hide option that is being shown.
Yeah, yeah.
Go to PowerPoint.
Hmm.
No, the PowerPoint is at the bottom of your screen.
Okay. Hmm.
Go to the first slide.
Okay.
This is the second one, I guess.
Yeah, that's okay. That's okay.
Perfect.
So, when we started this transition, we had to also understand what makes importance of apples to us. So apples, if we look at the total production of apples around the world, we have 100 million metric tons of apples that are being produced currently around the world. And if we look at who produces that, China produces 50% of it. So 50 million metric tons of apples come only from China. And why do we want to shift the kind of cultivation that we have, the kind of material that we produce? We have 1.5 billion people to feed, and we are the only state, we Himachal, that I mean we, as in the mountains, that produce apples. But the challenge is that apple eaters are changing day by day. That the transition of apple eaters is happening very fast, because they are getting exposed to apples that comes from outside the country. So if you look at the apples import and export data, right now we are importing currently 6,000 crores worth of apples each year. Against we are exporting 100 crores of apples outside. That is the only data that's present right now. And we're importing apples in a much bigger way than we are exporting apples. So the change is happening dramatically with the consumption of the consumers. And the consumers that we have currently, we have to also see who are the consumers. The consumers are either from a lower middle class of the society, or the upper strata of the society. And when you have those people, they have a ready available basket. They have available mangoes, they have available bananas, they have available other fruits. Why would they shift to apples? So if they are shifting to apples, if they want to eat apples, they want to eat quality apples. But what we produce, the canopies that we have currently, we produce only 30 to 35% A grade. That is the reason why we primarily mix A, B, and C. The farmer has a ready-made market for A. He doesn't have a market for B and C, and he mixes A, B, and C. When he mixes A, B, and C, the problem is, you buy, let's say, I buy a box of apples in Delhi. I understand there will be only 30% A or 40% A. The rest will be B and C. And when I take it home and I find that there are apples which are B and C, it leaves a very bitter taste in my mouth that I have been cheated. Now, if you look at the imported apples, all the apples that come here are charged 50% of import tariff. But the difference in selling price of these apples and our apples is not more than 30-40%. And all the apples are of grade A. If you go to a superstore and you buy apples from a superstore, the salesman will never come close to you if you are buying an imported apple. But as soon as you go to buy local apples, they will come closer to you, because they have to put B and C into your bag. They have to sell it. They have to sell the whole lot rather than selling only A. So my point of discussion here is that the consumer is changing. When the consumer is changing, the production has also to change. That's the genesis of the change, why we decided to change. And when we decided to change as a state, or as a UT, or as a crop, we wanted to change the whole technology of the crop, not only just bringing in a new variety of a crop or bringing in a new rootstock for a crop, because these technologies have been tried out previously also. We want to bring in whole of a technology package, whether that is a trellis system, whether that's a drip irrigation, whether that is anything associated with it. If it is brought in as a package, it's going to work. If it is not brought in as a package, it's not going to work. So let's go back. We have 1,70,000 metric hectares under apples currently, and Kashmir produces 22 lakh metric tons, more or so, and we produce almost 75% of India's apples. Now the biggest challenge that we are facing is from the imported apple, is the shifting of apple consumer that I told you, and also the climate poses a huge risk for us right now. And to address these, we have been working on these changes from past so many years, and we have been able to bring in I would say a good amount of change into the landscape of Kashmir's apple production, because what has happened is that over the period of years, what has happened is that people have started making more money. If we do not change at the present position, if we do not change, uh, it's very difficult for us to survive the onslaught of the imported apples. Whether you have Iran sending you the apples, whether you have US, whether you have Europe, whether you have South Africa sending you the apples, the onslaught is very heavy, and the change has to happen. I will give you a classic example. If we do not change, what happens? So the biggest traded commodity between India and US right now is almonds. So almonds are being imported by India in a very big number, and we put 35 rupees per kg import tariff on almonds right now. Kashmir is the only state that produces almonds in a big number in India. But the almond industry is almost vanished from Kashmir. Almost vanished because they didn't change. They didn't change at the right time. Maybe the technology was not available, or the finance was not available, or the farmers didn't have the will at that time to change. So multiple factors led to a dramatic reduction in the almond production in Valley. Right now, if you buy almonds in Kashmir, you will still be buying non-peggle from California. And who owns lands in California? If you happen to go to California, the Indians own land in California. Send these almonds to India, pay an import tariff of 35 rupees per kg, and still make money. That's the challenge that we are facing. And these out of these different systems that we have tried around the country, that we have gone around the world, the slide that's out here is again the same: A grade, B grade, and C grade. So there is no buyer for C grade apple. That's the biggest challenge that we are having, because culled fruit, if you look at China, the whole concentrate market has been eaten up by China. Why they sell at a much cheaper price than ours is they take everything out of that concentrate. They just sell you what you need. They make money by taking out the other things out of that concentrate, and they sell it separately. For example, they take vitamin C, they take other products out of that, and they make money out of it. They are able to sell the concentrate at a much cheaper price than what we think about. So these are the different districts. These are the production trends. One great thing about in India that has happened is that during even the turmoil in Kashmir, when we had these bad times, the apple area has always increased. The production as well as the apple area has increased. So India right now, you can see the import tariff that I was speaking to you about is very high. It's second to Turkey, and it cannot stay at such a high import tariff for years to come. It has to go down in the import tariff. The apple imports are again increasing, and we go back to the production systems. So we tried out different production systems. Each production system is an outcome of the other production system. It's built upon the previous production system, and every production system has an advantage as well as a disadvantage. To me, what I believe in currently, the tall spindle system is still the best system around the world that's available to us. It has come out of Cornell, and it is the easiest system right now to work with. So if you put a plant, you just need to have a feathered planting material to put it. You have a plant, you optimize the height, you optimize the utility of light through the system. You have a 3 meter spacing between the plants, between the rows, and 1 meter between the plants that we are advocating right now. But you can go down to 0.8 also between the plants. You can accommodate 3,333 to 4,000 plants per hectare, and you will get at least 75 to 80% A grade. So when we started this whole process, the idea was that we address two issues. The first issue was our low productivity. We have 10 metric tons production per unit area, per hectare, and we wanted to address that. So with this system, we have been able to put up orchards roughly around 5,000 hectares in the state as of today, and we have been able to demonstrate 70 to 80 metric tons per hectare yield. That means we have been able to take the productivity levels from 10 metric tons to 80 metric tons. That, let's say 70 metric tons. That makes it 7 times increase in the productivity. In terms of grade A, we have been able to take it from 35% A to 70% A. That's 2 times increase in the quality of the apples. That's a huge change to a farmer from the normal productivity that he sees, or the normal profitability that he sees. For a farmer, the biggest driving factor is the profitability rather than anything else. And to us, it's becoming very clear that the farmer is shifting dramatically to this new age plantation system. If you look at this system, it is full bearing in the fourth year, fourth leaf that we call, and the older system looks as small as the young one. Just the trunk increases. There are no permanent branches in this, and we have seen around the world, or even in Kashmir, there are some farmers who have taken more than 100 metric tons also out of this system. But we advocate that 60 to 70 should be the limit, so that there is no alternate bearing or other problems, because we still are not at a stage where we are putting so much of fertilization and other efforts into the system. Then we have another one old system, out of which the tall spindle had come up. It's a super spindle system, the German system, wherein you reduce the height, but you increase the number of plants, because you are reducing the row width also. So when you have a height of, let's say, 3 meters. If hypothetically you have a height of 3 meters, you have to have a width of 3 meters as well, roughly around that percentage. And in super spindle, when you're reducing the height, you can reduce the row width as well, and by that you can accommodate more number of plants. But initially your yield can get higher because you have more number of plants. But what has been seen when you compare all these systems is that after 4 years, tall spindle overtakes the super spindle in terms of production, and though the investment cost of the super spindle is much higher, so it's better to go with the tall spindle. But in areas where sun is an issue, or in areas where labor is an issue, and you want to have a system where you just want to use one pole, one stool with one step, then you can use a super spindle system. So it has only one problem, that is that it has a high production cost initially, high establishment cost initially. Then I did find out these are the 6 systems that are available around the world, under which we can put apples in any way that we want to put in. So there is no bounding, or there is no boundary on the system that we want to do in apples. But these are I'm putting here only the 6 systems under which the maximum acreage is there. In this again, you have a large number of trees, but only challenge is that the trellis is very complex and costly. It is done in areas where you want to have reduced sunburn, and you want to have less expensive trees at the start, and it's also very suitable for mechanized harvesting. Then very important system, which is called Solex, or it's a chimney system. It's a French system wherein you have a standalone tree on 106, because not all areas have M9 trees. So we still have trees on 106 or M7 which are self-standing. And in these plants you have a chimney through which the light comes in. So there are wells around, and in the center you'll find the wells being completely empty, and you can have light coming through these wells, so that there is more light interception. And this system is also spread across quite a bit of area. The only drawback is that you have less number of plants per unit area in this system, and also there are issues with renewal wood. So one branch goes bad, it impacts the tree for a longer period of time. It's not easy to get a new branch at that place, and that's the one drawback. But if you have a self-standing tree, this is a better system to do with. Then one system which is very popular in US is biaxis, where you plant just a plant. Either you have this plant coming from the nursery, or you want to have this plant in your own orchard, and then you cut a plant and you have 2 side branches coming out of that plant, and from each plant you have 2 branches coming out. So you have production coming from two branches from one plant, and that means you have just 30%. You require less number of plants compared to the other systems. But the only drawback with this is that if one plant is lost, it is typically 2 plants that are lost. And where it is used mostly is in areas where you have more vigor. In varieties where you have more vigor, you want to control the vigor, you divide it into 2 axes. You can have biaxes, you can have triaxes, you can have multiple axes. I will show you. I guess I have some pictures. Yeah, this is triaxes on the top right. You have triaxes, you have biaxes. These systems are very popular in areas where you want to save on the number of plants you want to put into the ground. So for example, in US, let's say somebody has a 300-hectare farm and he wants to replace it. He will prefer to do a biaxis or a triaxis to save two plants rather than putting three plants. He will put only one plant and have triaxis to have harvest on those systems. But again, it's a complex system. It has its own complexities, and but there is still a large amount of area that's under this system. The system that we have in Kashmir on predominantly roughly around 1,67,000 hectares of land is either central leader or it's open center or modified central leader. These three systems that are predominantly in Kashmir, and to me, it's more of wood than of fruit. As we see today, the orchards that are there is huge wastage of pesticides. There is huge B and C grade that's in these orchards, and there is huge wood that's there. It becomes very difficult for a farmer to manage the disease and the insects in these big orchards, because the problem is that he has to spray on a canopy which is 20 feet tall, 25 feet tall, and whatever he sprays, I believe 70% comes back on the ground, and it spoils everything around. So if we have to go for a new age orcharding system, these are the new designs of orchards that we can do, and the utility or the output from these orchards is predominantly better compared to the existing systems. You have, compared to traditional system where you put only 300 plants per hectare, here you are putting 3,000 to 4,000 trees per hectare. So there is one negativity only about these systems: the initial cost is higher, but the first 4 years of cumulative yield takes care of the entire cost of establishing an orchard, except the land price. If you want to take out the land price, the cost you become absolutely you enter into the green zone in the 4th year or the 5th year, depending upon how good you have taken care of your orchard. And it's always so, if something is profitable in the 5th year, it becomes a bankable project. If we have to see it from a prism of whether the project that you are putting is bankable, whether the project that you are putting is profitable, whether a young generation wants to go into this system of plantation, then compared to a traditional tree wherein you have a juvenility of 10 to 12 years, the system you have a juvenility of just 1st year. Now there are 2-3 questions that are always into the farmers' minds. One is always that what is the age of this plant? I just want to address these 1 or 2 questions that usually come to me. That the first is that what is the age of this plants? We have heard that this is just for 15 years. Its age, they die in 10 years. This is not right. This is absolutely not right. So they have their peak till 25 to 30 years. After 30 years, yes, for sure, they decline in their yield, as happens with any other crop. But why do people shift in 10 years or 12 years? That's also right. The people keep on shifting in 10, 12 years because new varieties come into existence in the market. When you have a newer variety, you have the trellis, you have the drip irrigation already installed. You just need to change the tree, and the tree has a non-bearing age of just 1 year. And the new variety fetches you a better price in the market. So for example, let's say we take an example of pink lady or cosmic crisp that has come out from WSU right now. And if you look at those varieties, those are club varieties, and the days of patented varieties is over. The days of free varieties are over. It is more and more becoming more towards the marketing side and more complex. If you look at Pink Lady, when they started advertising about Pink Lady, they started it 2 years before the Pink Lady fruit even came to the market. And there was such a hype that Pink Lady still sells at 3 times the cost of normal apples, Red Delicious apples, or even the Galas. And you have varieties coming into the market each year, newer and newer generation of varieties. That's why farmers keep on shifting. Another example that you can quote to your people, that you can quote in the meetings, is that, so for example, a life of a car that you buy at your home is roughly around 15 years if it's a petrol car. But we, all of us, none of us has the car for 15 years. We all change it from after 5 years, 6 years, because a newer car has come into the market, which is either more fuel efficient or better looking or something else. That so the same case happens with these plants also. So the farmers keep on shifting because a newer variety comes into the play. That's a that's a great thing to happen. That's a great thing to happen. I don't believe we should think about it that it's a disadvantage. To me, it's an advantage if you want to shift it after every 6 or 7 years, putting in new variety. That way, the nursery people are also going to earn a good amount of money, and the farmers are also going to earn a good amount of money. And you want to keep on having the buzz in the market about a new apple variety that is coming out. So I will still only focus on tall spindle. So in the first year, the key is that the plant material has to be feathered. The biggest challenge in tall spindle is that the material has to be feathered, and it has to have 3 to 5 feathers that we can handle right now. 7 feathers we are not able to handle because we usually import planting material from outside as of today, because we do not produce enough planting material that is needed into the shift of high density orcharding. The government has kept an ambitious task of doing 1,000 hectares each year, but we are not close to it. Even let's say, if we hypothetically say that we do 1,000 hectares in a year, it will take us 170 years to convert 170,000 hectares into high density, which is a very, very long period. If we convert just 3% of the current area into high density, that's roughly around 5,000 hectares. That needs 2 crore planting material. And that's not available with us. That's a challenge. If we convert 30% of the current area into high density orcharding, that needs roughly around 100 crore planting material. That's too high of a number that we can put in. But if we hypothetically convert 30% of our current area into high density orcharding, we are looking at being the second biggest apple producers in the world. I told you initially, the total global production is roughly around 98 to 100 million metric tons each year. China produces 50 million metric tons. America produces 5.28 million metric tons. We produce somewhere around 3 point something million metric tons. And if we change to high density in just 30% of the current area, keeping the rest of the area static, so we will be able to produce roughly around 6 million metric tons. So that takes us to the second biggest apple producers in the world. And if you ask me, is it possible? I would say absolutely, it's possible, and it is going to happen. And I'm sure about it that it will happen if we all come in and chip in our part into it. The second year of planting of tall spindle, where you have crop also on the first year. If you put it in March, you have a crop in the first year, but we say 0 crop in the first year. Second year, you have 2 to 4 kgs of fruits on each plant, and in the third year, you have at least 5 to 8 kgs of fruit on the plants, and in the fourth year, you are almost full. This is red blocks. So you are almost full, 20 to 25 kgs per plant. So 25 kgs multiplied by 3,000 makes you 75 metric tons. So we are in fourth year, we are in a full berry capacity. And if we do if we add the cumulative yield of second, third, and fourth year, and take it into account the initial investment for putting up the high density orchard, we are in the green zone. So all the expenditure involved in putting up the high density orchard, except the land prices, that should be taken care of by the orchard itself. And from the fifth year, we expect a hectare to yield you between 20 lakhs to 40 lakhs, depending upon how you manage the orchard. Net profitability is from 20 lakhs to 40 lakhs, depending upon how you manage the orchard. So this is Fuji. Again, I'm putting up some pictures of different varieties. This is Fuji in the fifth year, which is still not picking up in our area because of a little bit of color issue. It needs more agronomic management than the galas. Galas are much easier than this. Then again, I will try to show that there are no permanent branches. It is all about small branches. In Fuji, you have to use ground reflectors to get the final color, the pinkish color. That is why Fuji is popular for. But I believe that after galas, Fuji is going to take the market. So this is one of the varieties that is going to be very important for us going forward, and it has a very high storability. It can be stored for 12 months. if we are able to perfect the techniques of growing Fuji's, we should be able to we will be in for a surprise. Then Golden Delicious, it's a very popular variety in Kashmir. It's mostly used for this. We use it for as a pollinizer, not as a major variety. So in there are also some varieties which are being tested in Kashmir. So this one is from France. This variety is called Joya, which harvests in the December, mid-December. So if you want to have some fresh fruits around Christmas, you can do that. But the only challenge is that your area should not experience too much of snow. If there is more snow in your area, it becomes a little complex to grow this variety. But yes, people do grow it around the world. Then how a high density orchid looks in the winter, as simple as this, the picture. It has anti-hail at the top, you have black anti-hail, you use white anti-hail, you can use gray anti-hail, depending upon where you are and how much light interception you want to stop with the hailnet. And black hailnet blocks almost 30% of the light. So in some areas where sun is an issue, we prefer black anti-hailnet. Otherwise we use white anti-hailnets mostly. Hailnets, again, because of the climate change, I would say that it has become very, very erratic in our places. We never expected hail from June onwards in Kashmir. Now we can see hail even in July in Kashmir, and so hailnet is a common factor these days, and it's being supported as a part or a package of the orchard. Then some pictures from around the country, around the world. This is from Switzerland. This is again the German system. This is one small area I'm very interested in talking about. It's the South Tyrol area of Italy, where on the ground we can see these are all apple orchards laid left, right, and center. So it has an average productivity of 130 metric tons per hectare, and this area, if you eat in Europe any apple, so every third apple in Europe comes from this small area. This is a patch in South Tyrol, and they produce. If there is any tour in the world and you want to show them the best way to grow apples, you will take them to this place. ASH does it, ISHS does it, every organization in horticulture does it, and take them to these areas where they have defied orientation, they have defied the kind of yield they are having. But there are other systems as well which are being used around the world. New Zealand is also picking up quite a bit in newer age orchards, wherein they are increasing the productivity to 150 metric tons. But it's still in the experimental field. The orchid design has still not picked up on a commercial scale, but yes, it's possible to take it to 150 metric tons also. So this is again from Canada. Some pictures I have taken from Canada. This is again a very old system, super spindle system, because in these systems they were very concerned about the harvesting guys, the pickers, their injuries. So they would have only one step ladders, so that if there's a fall also, it doesn't hurt the people, because they have to cover a lot of insurance money also if there's a damage. So again, some new varieties on bud 9 and the Budgoski 9. It's a very popular rootstock, except M9, though we have not seen its popularity in our areas so much. But around the world, if you have to compare rootstocks, if you have to compare with the Cornell rootstocks or Max series or Poly series, you always take two checks. M9 and B9 are the standard checks around the world, and Bud 9 is very, very popular around the world. Only challenge, advantage it can resist very cold. It's a very, very cold hardy rootstock. Only challenge it has that it is not compatible with all the varieties. Somewhere it becomes a little brittle at the union, and that's one challenge that it faces. But in terms of yield and precocity, it's equivalent to M9. This is one variety called Red Max Macintosh. This is Brookfield Gala. Again, Gala has taken us by surprise. We harvest Galas from end of July or mid of or first week of August, and Galas are basically divided into two major groups. One is a striped, one is a completely colored, the dewashed one, the one that you are looking at. It initially started with the striped ones, but now more and more people are preferring the dewashed ones. But the challenge is that we have to. It's a highly unstable clone, highly unstable clone. Whether they are the new galas that are coming up on the market, the gala Mima, the Sneeko Red, all these galas. Every nursery comes up with a new gala each year. But the challenge is that they are highly unstable, and they go back to this parent. One parent that is golden delicious. It tries to show green color more, appearing more than the red color. But yes, as of today, it's picking up our market fast. It is replacing our red delicious in a much faster way compared to the other varieties. But and it is going mostly B2B, back to back. So people are not storing it. It is fetching farmer a farm gate price of 85 to 100 rupees per kg on the plants itself. So a farmer is making a good amount of money from selling ngalas, and I believe this market is going to continue till some years, and then the newer varieties will come into existence. And also, the biggest challenge is when we are doing a shift, we have to also understand all the varieties that perform somewhere, let's say best in other parts of the world, might not perform good in your area or in our area. That's a challenge, and that's where our role comes into play. We need to research thoroughly whether that variety is acceptable. It's not only about color, it's not only about taste, it's not only about size. It's a combination of all these factors, even more than these two, three, four factors. And we need to see the profitability or the acceptance of that variety. I will give a classic example of, there was one variety a few years back, because internet provides us so much of information. Sometimes it becomes too much of information available, and it's very difficult to judge what is better for you or what's not good for you. So one variety which sells at a much higher price in India is called Red Love. It's a variety which is red inside. So the core is also red in that variety, and people see it selling at 1,500 rupees a kg. So in our area, a lot of farmers got in the budwood from a lot of sources. There are a lot of sources from getting budwood, and or some people even imported the budwood of red love and planted red love left, right, and center. They had failed to understand. Red love is astringent. It's not even a tasty variety. You cannot even eat it. It's a very astringent variety. Now, how it sells at 1,500 rupees a kg is basically it sells in either on Delhi or in Bombay high-end markets only on a Valentine's Day. It's a symbol of love rather than symbol of eating apples. And people, when they started planting these plants and they had to crop, nobody was willing to buy them, and these people had to replace those varieties. They had to do top grafting in a year or 2 years after they had started cropping their fields. So the challenge is that the variety acceptance, or the variety that we are seeing that we want to push to the farmers field, is a very thought prone process. We all need to think thoroughly. There has to be rigorous trials. Which variety is suited to which system of orcharding, or which clientele is tomorrow going to buy this variety. I believe scab resistant varieties are going to come into play, though they are still not on the sweet side, but there are varieties which are more on the sweeter side. So there are breeding programs around the world that are bringing in varieties which are scab resistant but are sweet. There is a series from Europe called Sweet Resistance, and they are on the sweeter side, but yes, still their acceptability is being tested out. And yes, each year newer and newer varieties are coming into play. That's why people shift their varieties faster than what their tree could be. So the tree could be raised for 25-30 years, but they shift it in 10 years, 15 years, because a newer variety is available on the market. So selection of a variety is a key to this whole process. The trellis, the drip irrigation, and the plants, these three combine together to give you a proper yield. It's not about plants, it's not about trellis, it's not about drip, it's not about nutrition. When you combine all these in a proper fashion, then only you expect a result that you think of. Otherwise, it becomes very difficult to achieve what you desire to achieve. Another variety called Autumn Rose Fuji. It's again on bud, and different clones of Fuji are there. This is Braeburn. This variety, if you look at this variety, this is extremely red, extremely beautiful looking. And we tried out this variety in our place. It didn't perform well. It didn't color as much as you could see in this picture. So as I told you earlier, also we need to look at varieties based on their suitability to our area, rather than just looking at that variety in its own area where it is very successful. There are also different systems which farmers make out on their own, which are a combination of two systems. For example, you will see this picture in British Columbia, where farmers are shifting between super spindle to tall spindle, where they want to increase yield also, but more number of plants, but also want to take the advantage of vertical height. This is an old tall spindle picture from Italy that I have taken, and this is again with an anti-hail on top of it. This is just basically I'm using a presentation from my Google Drive, so I don't have a new presentation with me. This is an old presentation that I used to play out, and sorry for that, because I am not at home or I am in office. It's a holiday for us today. So I told you earlier, what makes a good high density orcharding is the plant material. The trellis, the drip. It's all about like the marriage. You have all these things in a house. You have the pandal, you have this food, everything is important, but the whole important thing is the bride and the groom. The bride and the groom in this high density orcharding are the plants. So if your plants are not good, it's not worth to plant them in the high density orchard. And this is these are 2-year old nip plants. Either in high density you can have 9-month plants, you can have 1 plants that go into high density orcharding. So it's a very different system than the way we grow plants. So the plants are put excessive fertigation, excessive nutrition management, excessive hormone management, so to have its proper girth. That makes it and proper root system. That's very important. So this is some old plant when we're trying to buy plants for government. Then you have this cherry, another crop which is getting very popular around the world. In cherry, you have this system of this is a variety called Regina, which we have also tested out. We have tested out 6 varieties in 6 varieties we are recommended for rains in Kashmir, but we have tested out almost 15 to 20 varieties, new varieties, which fetch you a very, very good price. And this is one variety. So in cherries, the biggest challenge in cherries is that we have varieties that came from Indra, France. So the varieties that are available in India right now are the double. They are all from the Brigaria series, and they are all French varieties, and they are very small varieties. When I went to Indra, they asked me how many plants do you have preserved of these old varieties. I said, no, not plants. We have preserved in thousands of hectares. So in temperate fruits, what I see is that there has not been a change, a commercial change from last 30 years, 40 years. In 70s, whatever material we have has come to India has come in either late 70s or early 80s. After that, no new material has come in temperate fruits, except it has started coming after 2008, 7, 8, or 5, I would say. After that, the new material has come down. So in cherries, the biggest challenge is the rain cracking, and these are the varieties that are resistant, somewhat resistant, not exactly highly, I would say 100% resistant, but somewhat resistant to rain cracking, because they're thick-skinned and they crop late. They harvest late, and then when they harvest late, they have better size as well. So these are the cherries that you see in the market selling in Delhi in car market for 1,000-1,500 rupees a kg. To me, if you are a good farmer, you are a very good grower, and you have a land where you have air drainage available, I would recommend that you shift to cherry cultivation rather than apple cultivation. In cherries, the game that you see from the farmer's perspective is just 4 months. So it starts cropping, it starts flowering, it starts growing. The tree starts coming out of dormancy in the month of March, let's say end March, April, May, and June. He has harvested the crop and he's done. So just for 4 months he has to take care of the crop. But it's highly sensitive crop, a lot of issues with this crop, but yes, highly profitable. If you are a good grower around the world, you are knowledgeable, you opt for cherries as your primary crop. And so these are the cherry cultivation that is done around the world in controlled conditions, not fully controlled, but half controlled conditions. They usually go for high tunnels where they put cherries, where they put cover on top of cherries, so that they save it from rain, and also they can get it early to the market. So this is another system of cherry that you see. This is a fully automated greenhouse in Holland. They have these fully automated greenhouses where you have controlled condition all around. So your top, your sites, everything can open up, and it's all programmed. So you want to keep it at 23 degrees, everything will be at 23 degrees. And you have perfect cherries for mechanization. The systems that they are using is TSA or SSA, so tall spindle X or super spindle X. There are other systems which are very popular in cherries. People are also trying to do it in apples. For example, one system is UFO, upright footing offshoots, or you have KGB, the Kim Green Bush. These systems are also very popular around the world. UFO is picking up very fast. That's the system that came out from WSU, I guess in 2006 or 5 or 6. It came out in 2005 or 6 from an agronomist called Mike Whiting. He brought in the system, and it's becoming very popular around the world because it's highly suitable for mechanization. And if you want to use mechanical harvesters for harvesting cherry, this is the system that you should go for. So that's the UFO system. So you bend the trees into two parts, and then you have vertical shoots coming out of it. Then you have somewhere in, this is a Poland, these pictures are taken from Poland. Somewhere you will see people using very cheap systems to convert also the jugaad systems that you would say, and then they would put the anti-haylet in the next year. Another crop which should get very popular to me as a temperate crop is strawberries. We can produce strawberries when Mahabaleshwar or Punjab ends the strawberries. We can produce them from April till October, and we have to take them out from the soil. The biggest challenge is when it touches the ground, so it rots. So we have to take it out away from the soil, put it into troughs, and we can get an amazing price in strawberries. If somebody wants to shift to strawberry, has a piece of land, wants to do cropping for 1 or 2 years, put up a system. After 2 years, he wants to abandon the system. He has just harvested the money, and he can just go with any other thing that he wants to do on that piece of land. And this system is highly suitable, highly profitable. And I would say if we have to give a year-round supply to some hotels or some supermarkets, let's say you produce in 6 months, 5 months you produce in Punjab, then the rest of the 5, 6, 7 months you produce in Kashmir, you can have a year-round production of strawberries. And these strawberries are really big and really tasty, and I would see a lot of new varieties of strawberries coming up each year. And it's a very profitable venture, provided you know how to grow the crop. Then you can also take it to the field where you can see it in Serbia. Taking some pictures from Serbia, and this is in the field where you are taking using the plastic sheets. I believe we are doing the same thing in Punjab as well as Mahabaleshwar, but the system that I was showing here is much better than this system. And then the innovative method, some farmer didn't have money to cover the anti-hail net properly. He just put it on the plants. Though it's very difficult to do a spraying, then he would roll it up, and once he sells the fruit, he was telling me that once I sold the fruit, then only I will put the proper system into place. Till that time, he had just done a jugaad. This is organic apples. Again, very difficult for us to do it in India because of the disease and other pressures. But yeah, in Europe, they have areas where they do organic apples, and it is fetching them a better price. It's because it's a market-driven organic apple production rather than just the name, and they fetch double the price than normal apples. And but organic apples means quite a good amount of organic matter rather than just 1 or 2 kgs of vermicompost. Then these are our orchards. These are very old pictures of our orchards. I guess we have shifted from all these pictures to newer orchard systems. These are the rootstocks we have. So at the end, I would say that in temperate fruits, much has not changed in the country. We in J&K, Himachal, Uttarakhand, and then Northeast. In Northeast, I would say Arunachal, Meghalaya, which are all even this Manipur, which are the Himalayan states. We can produce enough. We can produce enough for our own country, and also there is some people say that, hey, if we increase the production, what happens to who will eat these apples? What happens to the bulk that gets produced? So if you look at Bangladesh is the 3rd biggest importer of apples in the world. What it does with these apples, it doesn't eat all. It resells the apples to Myanmar and all the countries down there. So it sells to the Far East. So we need to see that there is a huge market that's available. We have competition coming from other countries, very high competition, and some are using very smart methods. For example, Iran is using FAFTA agreement through and pushing it through Afghanistan, where there's a aid free trade agreement, and it is bypassing the 50% import tariff. And though India has increased the minimum price of apples to 80 rupees, I guess, this year rather than 50 rupees last year, so they undervalue the apples. So it's a challenge is coming out these days, but there are options available to the farmers and to the researchers to bring in these technologies. I wouldn't say that we do not need to go for, please do not take it at any consideration that we do not go for our own varieties, we do not increase our own varieties, the acreage of our own varieties and other things. That's a separate discussion. But in this presentation, I was talking more about how we increase the farmers' profitability from that perspective. So to me, it's a very, very open market. We have 1.5 billion people that want to eat temperate fruits, that want to eat fruits, and temperate fruits forms a key in a fruit bowl that you want to have at your home. So whether it's apples, whether it's pears, whether it's plums, whether it's cherries, whether it's blueberries, whether it's kiwis, we can produce all the Himalayan states can produce all. We just need to perfect the agronomy and the genetics. The variety has to be perfected, which suits to one area, not getting a variety and then coming to know after a few years that this variety was not suitable for this area. And also the agronomy has to perfect it with each variety. Each variety has to have its own package, how this variety will go, how this variety will perform in the farmer's field. Exactly take it from a commercial perspective rather than taking it just from the research perspective. That's the key for the success to these new orchard systems, and I believe we should be able to get to a significant amount in all these temperate fruits in the coming years. Thank you so much, guys. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for this informative session, sir. This was very much needed for our knowledge. I would like participants to interact. If any participant wants to interact with yourself.
So I am not at home. I am not at office. So I have rented. I just came inside some building and I just asked them for a room so that I can speak. And even the laptop is not mine. So this was a very good presentation from my Google Drive.
Thank you, sir. It was very much informative.
Thank you.
If any participant wants to interact with sir. So one person was asking that in Assam they are getting fruits for apple fruits for 300 to 350 kg. So which grade of apples they are getting and from where they are getting these apples?
So I believe the A grade apples that we produce is, as I earlier mentioned, it's just 30 to 35% A. That means out of 22 lakh metric tons, we produce only 8 lakh metric tons as A grade. And that doesn't go beyond the class A cities of India. That is restricted to A class cities of India. Tier B and Tier C cities receive B and C grade apples, not C, basically B grade apples. That is produced in abundance in Kashmir. So I would believe the apples that reach to Assam might be either from a B grade apples. So it also depends upon when you purchase it. If you purchase it in the season, 300 rupees is a much higher price. But if you purchase it later in the season, for example, right now, 300 rupees is not a high price. It's a quite normal price because they have to also store the apples for at least 7-8 months because it's harvested in the month of October.
Any other participant who wants to ask any question?
I guess it's Shoaib, Dr. Shoaib, it's a post-lunch session.
Yeah.
And it becomes very difficult to speak online. I believe most of the participants might not be in a mood to ask questions.
We are thankful, sir, you gave your time for this presentation, sir. We are very much thankful to you, sir. So we will take a leave, sir.
Thank you so much, Shoaib. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.